morning, dear students. Welcome back to our next session, Standard 10th, subject Social Science, and today we are going to cover chapter number 15, Economic Development. Students, it's a technical subject and it is introduced new to you in your syllabus. As previously in your social science subject, you were learning only civics part, history part and geography part. Now, new topics are included, which is named is economic development, means the country's function related to its monetary transactions and other activities of producing the goods and services are included in this economic development chapter. Now let's start our chapter. Introduction part. Okay, as we see here on the screen, a nice sunrise picture is there and it says that every person's morning begins in a different way. Yes, it's very true. A person who gets up in the morning, every person may do some different activities, like some people will go for exercise in the garden, some will go for yoga or meditation, some have the routine of going to temple for worshipping the god, some housewife will be busy in preparing their child's and husband's food and lunch and breakfast and all this. So every person's morning begins in a different way. In short, that every person do some activity as soon as they get up. Every person's morning begins in a different way. Many people leads their life full of material pleasure. Yes, material pleasure here means the luxurious item or the things which makes your life comfortable and smooth. So this is the routine of some people, that without these things they may not imagine also. So let's see the next screen, in which you will understand that how the people, you will see the difference between the people's life. Yes, the life of the people varies from people to people. Here on the screen you can see that different 4 pictures are there, where in one picture you can see that the family is having a very healthy breakfast in the morning. Another one you can see they all are enjoying on the TV, and you can see one person is just coming from the airplane down and will a Mercedes car, Grand Ambassador Mercedes car is waiting for him. Okay, so these are the material pleasures which every person in this world or in this country are not enjoying. The next picture which you will see will give the justification to this screens. Okay, so you just see the next picture, that how people who are living here very happy and busy and comfortable life, in the next picture it will be quite, you will feel upset also, that is the dark side of our country, and every country will have such type of problems. Yes students, now you see this screen, what you are seeing. Okay, so we are seeing here that some children are there who are just asking for the food. Another one you can see that a family is there who is just having the food in one plate only, a very less food is there and 5 to 4 people are there to eat. Third picture you can see here that the woman is fetching the water, maybe water crisis will be there. Another picture you can see that the people are not having the proper dwelling places also, and here you can see a person who is of old age, whose age is of retirement and enjoy the life, is still struggling, is still working and trying to earn the income. Next one you can see that children are just sitting at home, maybe they are not going for education schools or like that way. So but maximum people of the world are seen struggling for existence. Yes, just to survive the life they have to struggle for food, shelter and the basic primary needs of a human being. For these peoples who are called poor, physical pleasures, well-being or resting is an imagination only. Yes, so we can see here on the screen, students, that the people who are called poor. Now, poor people whom we will call those who are not getting their primary basic necessities also. So for them, these luxurious items and materialistic pleasures are just an imagination. So if we see further, why these problems are arising? Yes, how has this situation originated? Means the poverty has originated in India from when and how much it is still there now in current years, we will study in our next topics. So how has this situation originated? How to come out of this situation? Such type of questions have their answers. Students, now we will just understand the meaning of economic development. So here economic, if you connect something, it is with the monetary, money, yes, connected with the money transactions, either you are earning or spending anything, okay, and you are getting the benefit or profit from it. So in today's modern world, every country is trying to achieve development. So every country's main aim will be to achieve the development in all the ways. All the ways means here on the screen you can see, yes, that these are the pictures of the very developed countries having the good roadways, having the shipping ways, having the energies, natural energies converting into the useful energies, then railways, airways, infrastructures, farming, modern equipments of farming, industries, factories. So these are the things which every country aimed and every country want to achieve the development. But development is not confined to economic development only. Yes. So just by developing the country in infrastructures or roadways will not confine it as a economic development, because it is a process of social change having many phases. So here social structure also plays very important role in economic development of a country, because it happens that sometimes people are not ready to change by thoughts and ideas and they are still stuck with the old traditional types of the method. So only development will not confine here economic development, but again the social changes are also needed. So here we can say in the social changes means that the girl education, yes, very important. Then you can see the woman empowerment. Women are also coming out of their home and they are working in every field and earning a good income. So these are some social changes, some social changes which every country needs to change their thoughts and ideas for economic development. Economic development shows constant increase in national income of country. Now if you okay students, now if we say that how a country is developing economically, there are three things by which we can say that the country is developing economically. So very first is the constant increase in national income of a country. National income means the income of the whole country, of the people living in that country. Secondly, we can say that increase in per capita income of a country. Per capita income here means the income of an individual per head. And thirdly, because of the constant increase in the national income and per capita income of a country, people will obviously change their lifestyle and living standard. Here you can see that the basic needs of the people are food, shelter, clothing and medical and education. Yes, if the person is getting this all primary needs comfortably without any difficulty, and after that if a person is improving his lifestyle and life standard in other ways, then we can say that there is a economic development in any country. So this is called economic development if these three things exist in any country: constant increase in national income, increase in per capita income of a country, and change in lifestyle. If these three things exist in any country, we can say that there is development in that country. So how we can say national income? Total income of a country is called national income, and how you can get the per capita income? You can get per capita income by dividing national income with the total population of the country. While living standard includes the facilities like food, clothes, education, health service, transportation service, as well as shelters. So these are the students' basic needs of any person living in the country. If we come further, because of increase in national income and per capita income in India after independence, there has been improvement in service and facilities such as availability of food grains, clothes, electricity, education, health service, shelter, etc. The above mentioned requirements are fulfilled easily in better way as compared to the past. So before independence, Indian peoples were not enjoying or availing these services or these needs. Now after the independence, there has been constant improvement in the lifestyle of the people of India. So we may say that economic development is taking place in India. Students, you can see here, this is the national income of India. In the bracket you are seeing GDP, means gross domestic product, means the whole goods and services of the countries purchased or sold by the people of that country. Yes. So you can see the graph from 2011 till 2016, it is constantly increasing in crores. Coming to our next point, further now we will study about the difference between economic progress and economic development. So progress and development, these two words are very similar to each other and the meaning is same, that is increasing, but still it has the difference between. Let's study that difference between the economic progress and economic development. In ordinary sense, economic progress as well as economic development, both words shows an increase, but there is a lot of difference between both of them. Here you can see in progress, constant increase is there, in development, constant increase is there, but in what way they are increasing, that we have to see, that whether they are increasing in the term of number or in the term of quality. Now these differences we can make out on the basis of development process. Yes, there are three things through which you can make the difference. So first one is on the basis of development process. Economic development is qualitative, economic progress is quantitative. So this is the difference. Development, economic development qualitative, economic progress quantitative. Quantitative means in number of terms, the numbers of production increasing, the numbers of things increasing, that is the progress in quantitative way, and qualitative means that the country is giving the good services regarding the health, education and other things. People life quality is increasing. So this is the difference. Yes, here qualitative and here quantitative. Again, economic development is the first stage and economic progress is the stage after economic development. Very simple, students, that if a child wants the admission in the school, yes, very first they will start from the nursery, then step by step they will have the next class. So same thing is here. The first development should economic development is said to be the first stage, and then there is the economic progress is the second stage. Now if we come on the basis of according to change taking place in economy. Okay, so economic development is also getting changed. How that nowadays again new researches are done, new methods are done to increase the production. So this research and the methods on which the expenses are done by the business person or a owner. Yes, so that we can satisfy the needs of the people in the more good way. So on the basis of new researches in economy, what happened because of research in hybrid seeds in agriculture sector, there has been many-fold increase in agriculture production. This shows the economic development. So through the research, what happened that hybrid seeds again in agriculture sectors, new techniques are used, new equipments are used to what? To increase the production of agriculture. This shows economic development. On other side, where there is increase in agriculture production because of increase in agriculture land, it is called economic progress. So development means we are researching in the field of hybrid seeds and other things, and we are increasing the production. But here in economic progress we are increasing the production as there is increase in the agriculture land. So a bit difference is there between development and progress. Now coming to the next, difference in relation to developed and developing nation. So difference is seen both of them in relation to developed and developing nation also. Students, you can see here that the difference, the region, the countries which are in green color, they comes in the developing section, and in the pink one you can see they are the developed nation. So increase in national income of developed country is called economic progress, and increase in national income of developing country is called economic development. Why? Because developing country, for it is a first stage. Okay, so increase in national income of developing country is the first stage, that's why it is called economic development. And the developed country which are already having all the things in their countries, and now if their national income is increasing, then it will come in the economic progress. Now let's study the next topic, that is the features of developing economy. Yes, developing economy exists where? In the developing countries. Countries like our India is a developing country, and still we are working out on achieving our goals and aims. So economic of developed and developing countries separated on the basis of per capita income. Per capita income, previously we have understood that how we derive it by dividing the national income with the population, then we get per capita income. So who separates the developed and developing countries by the basis of per capita income? So World Bank do this thing. per the World Development Report of 2004 of World Bank, countries having income less than $735 are categorized as developing economy. Yes, here the dollar currency is taken because it's a very stable currency. So, World Bank has done this separation that which country will come under developing and which country is considered to be developed. So, if the income, per capita income of a country is less than $735, then that country will be categorized in the developing economy. Now, following are the features of developing economy. So, these features, mainly there are 9 features which exist in the developing economy or developing country, and especially you will see all these things in our country also. So, very first feature is less per capita income, means our India's population per person income is less than $735 as per the World Bank report. So, we are facing this problem. So, our less per capita income, so economy, fine. National income of developing country is less while population growth is high, so per capita income remains low. So, this is the problem in the developing country, that the population growth rate is very high and compared to that national income is very low. That's why we can say that per capita income remains always low, because number of people get increased and the income is same. So, the income will get distributed between the number of people and again it will become less. Coming to the next point, again per capita income you will get by dividing national income with the population. So, if the population will increase, of course the national income is remaining the same and population is increasing day by day with the growth of 2% more than the normal. So, the per capita income of a person will remain always low. Because of less per capita income, living standard of people is also low. Why? Because the income is the same and the number of people are increasing in the family. So, obviously the income, the things which we can buy through that income, the living standard of the person will always remain low there until and unless that person's income is not getting high or increase. Coming to the second feature is the population growth. As previously we talked that population growth rate is high in developing nation. Population wise also we are ranking for second in the our whole world. Yes. So, population growth rate is high in developing nations. Rate of population growth is 2% more or more in these nations. Third picture is dependence on agriculture. In developing nation, what do we see, that mostly 60% of the population is engaged in the agriculture sector. So, main occupation of the people of developing country is agriculture, and more than 60%. Yes, they are depend on the agriculture for employment, and the contribution of agriculture in national income of this nation is about 26%. Next feature is unequal distribution of income. So, unequal distribution of income here means that the people who are earning, yes, income, the rich are getting richer and richest, poor are getting poorer and poorest. So, unequal distribution of income and factors of production is seen in developing countries. This inequality is seen in cities as well as village. Again, 20% of rich people of countries share 40% of national income, and poorest 20% people share 10% of national income. This concentration of income and property is seen in the hand of rich people in developing economy. The next feature is unemployment. It's the biggest problem and the challenge to Indian economy, that unemployment may be counted as an important feature of developing countries. In these countries, ratio of unemployment is more than 3% of total labor. Means that thousands and lakhs of students are passing out their colleges with the degrees, but they are not having the job at a time. They have to struggle to find the job. In these countries, different type of unemployment may be seen. Yes, so these are the types of unemployment, different, like seasonal unemployment, disguised unemployment, industrial unemployment, etc. Seasonal unemployment means, you can see here that the farmers who are not having the 4 months they will have the work, then next 4 months they are not having any other work, so that 4 months they are unemployed. So it is called seasonal unemployment, disguised unemployment and industrial unemployment. Moreover, the period of unemployment is very long. Poverty. Our next feature is poverty. Poverty is also a feature of developing economy. People who are not able to satisfy their primary necessities like food, clothing, shelter, education and health are called poor. In developing countries, such people constitute 1/3 of total population. Our next feature is dual economy. In dual economy, economy of developing countries is based on dual or mixed system. Yes, in this type of system, what happened? Private sectors are also there, public sectors are also there. On one side, you will see the in villages still the old traditional orthodox methods are used for the occupations, and in cities you will see that the highly developed industries, factories and infrastructures are there. So there is a very high gap between this both. So one side backward farming, old machinery, orthodox social structure, less production are seen in village, and on the other side if you see, there are cities having modern industries, new production process, modern implements and modern sophisticated lifestyle. So students, you might be experiencing this thing that sometimes if you are visiting the village to your relatives or any other work, then you will see these differences. Yes, that in cities you will see a very hi-fi lifestyle of the people. In villages you will see very still living in that traditional methods and all this. So economic development here does not only consider the changes in the techniques according to techniques, but also the social changes are also needed. Coming to the next feature, insufficient infrastructure facilities. So crucially vital infrastructure facilities like education, transportation, communication, electricity, health facility, banking, etc. are less lacking in developing countries. Means you will see these infrastructure facilities more in the cities than compared to the villages. In the villages you will not find proper education also, maybe transportation also, communication also very poor, electricity also sometimes they do not get for 24 hours, they get for few specific hours only. Health facilities are also not available, they have to rush to a city if they are having some major problems in health. banking sectors also do not work out there. So in developing countries you will see these things on and off. Coming to the next, these all things hinders the development of nations. The last feature is the form of international trade. What happened here? The structure of foreign trade of developing country is different. These countries mainly export agro products and farm products as well as mineral ores. Yes, developing countries where the people are mostly engaged in the agriculture occupations, they only exports what agro products, yes, and farm products, and as well as mineral ores also. And these products are having very less price in the market and they are not in demand also. That's why the country earns very less foreign currency. So these type of product have less demand and low rate. That's why we do not earn much foreign currency. And on the other side what happened, that we import industrial products and machineries. As the cost product is more and so expense on imports rise. So there is a imbalance in trade in the form of international trade. Okay students, your next and last feature is the form of international trade. The structure of foreign trade of developing country is different. So the foreign trade, the structure of this foreign trade in the developing country is different because this country mainly export the agro products and farm products as well as mineral ores. Means our mostly our 60% population is engaged in the agriculture occupation. That's why mostly we exports the agro products and mineral farm products and mineral ores also we export because we do not have that much advanced technology that we can convert these things into useful mineral. So these type of products have less demand and low rate. Yes, because of the less demand and low rate we do not earn or generate the foreign currency much. So less income is gained by exporting these products. While import includes industrial products and machinery, as the cost of this product is more, so expense on import rises. Now things which we are not having in our country, we import it from another country. So what we are importing the industrial products and the high technology machinery, which expense are high, and because of that we have to pay more, and that's why the foreign debt is also created. We are having the unfair international trade. Our international trade is not fair, not balanced. Export import things are not in balance. That's why it will create the foreign debt also. Thus, as condition of foreign trade are adverse, there is an increase in foreign debt. Thus, we see above mentioned feature in developing countries. As Indian economy is developing, all these features are related to India in greater or lesser measure. So, these are the considered features of the developing country, and our country India is coming in a developing economy. That's why these features you will see in a greater or a lesser measure every way. So students, we end up our session here, and in our next session we will study the topic economic and non-economic activities. So let's start our next topic. So our next topic is economic and non-economic activities. Before starting this topic, once again I would like to say that economic development, yes, economic itself is a sole subject, and this is something new has been introduced in your syllabus. Okay, so economic is a technical type of subject, and previously we have understood the meaning of economic development means it is a process that indicate constant increase in the national and per capita income and thereby change in the standard of living of people. So if the per capita income of the person is increasing, then the standard of living of people will also get high. Means in a very simple language, it can be said that if a person will start earning more, he will also try to improve his life standard. Means he will spend the money on the luxurious items also, he will try to do more savings also. Okay. So now let's understand the activities which are economic and non-economic. Now before studying about the Indian economy, let us know what economic and non-economic activities are. Students, you can see here on the screen in the first picture, economic activity means a person is buying something, purchasing something and is paying the money. Okay, the monetary transaction is being seen there. And when you are seeing the second picture of non-economic activity, you can see that a person is donating the blankets and all the clothes to the needy peoples. Okay, so here no monetary transaction is there, it's a kind of a social activity you can say. So this will be considered as non-economic activity. In short, any activities which has the monetary transaction will be considered as economic activity, and any activity which has in which the give and take process is there but there is no monetary transaction. Okay, for example, very simple example, suppose you are buying a gift for your friend, okay, on her birthday, on her or his birthday, then that is a non-economic activity. Okay, the gift which you are going to give your friends on the birthday or some other occasions or like that way, that will be non-economic activity. And suppose if you are selling something, suppose you are selling anything to your friend and you are getting money in return, then that will be the economic activity. Okay. So economic activities means earning or spending money for the exchange of commodities or service. Very simple, you are earning, yes, or you are spending the money, means the transaction of the monetary thing has been happened. So for you are earning the money or you are spending the money. In what sense? In exchange of commodities or service. Suppose you are going to some shop and you are considered to be the activities related to economics. Now you can see here on the screen, economic activity means earning or spending money for the exchange of commodities or service. Means a person is paying the price for the thing he is purchasing from the shop. So for the both the side, on the both the side, one is purchasing and one is selling. Okay. So monetary transaction has took place here, so we can say it is an economic activity. For example, activity of a farmer, an artisan, a businessman, a teacher, etc. are included in economic activities. Yes, so all these people who are doing job also, they will get salary. Farmer who is doing farming and then is selling his crops and all this, he will get the money in return. Okay, so businessmen, all the artisans who are included in this are in economic activity because they are getting in return some monetary things. If we come to next, non-economic activity means activities that are not aimed at obtaining income or reciprocate something indirectly are called non-economic activity. You can see here there are many institution organizations who help the poor people, needy people. They give the things without having any aim of getting return. Yes, we also sometimes give the food also to the people who come at home and they ask for the food. Yes, some poor children also, some poor people also, if they are asking, then we give them old clothes and we give them the food which is remained there. So when we are giving these things, we are not aiming that we will get something in return. Okay, yes, if we see in the spiritually way, if we see, then we count that if we help the needy and poor people, we will get the blessings from the God. Okay, that is the another matter. It is a totally spiritual type of things. But here the activities that are not aimed at obtaining income or reciprocate something indirectly are called non-economic activities. For example, nurturing of a child by a mother's activity of social service done by social workers, etc. can be identified as a non-economic activity. Yes, very true. When a mother is nurturing his or her child, yes, the mother does not expect in return anything in monetary form. So, the mother love is unconditional. The social services done by the social workers are also unconditional. The aim of these things, non-economic activity, is to just help the needy and poor people. Okay. Coming to the next, structure of Indian economy. Again we are going to do the next topic, that is structure of Indian economy. So now if we talk about the structure of Indian economy, the economic activities in the India, yes, in the Indian economy are divided into three sectors. Very first is primary sector, secondary sector and service sector. So we will study in detail about these three structure. So various occupations and economic activities are classified in three sections. Very simple, day to day we do many activities. Yes, we go to the bank also, then we go to some shop also, then we have other things also which the people which help us in our day to day routine work. So we have various occupations. Now each occupations are kept in a certain category. So these three category you have to learn in detail, that is primary sector, secondary sector and service sector. Students, here once again I would like to say that this question related to this topic was asked in a twisted form. Yes, means the directly it was not asked that explain primary sector or explain the secondary sector, but example was given and it was asked that this particular person is working in which sector or is associated with which sector. Okay, so here again I would like to say that students, the last year's question twists and turns were there in the question papers, means the answers were very easy, logical type. You have to just think twice before answering. Okay, so again let's study in detail about the primary sector and the secondary sector and service sector. This classification of economic activities are recognized as commercial structure. This classification of economic activity means all the activities are being put in one or another category and they are recognized as commercial structure. Commercial structure means where the people are earning or spending the money, means in short monetary transactions are being taken place. All the three sections and activities included in them may be discussed as follows. Now let's discuss the three sections: primary sector, secondary sector and service sector. Very first, primary sector. So if we see the primary sector is the dominant sector of the Indian economy. Dominant means the most prominent, yes, which is occupying the large space in the national income. So very first is the agriculture. Agriculture and agriculture related activities such as cattle rearing, cattle breeding, fishing, poultry farm, collection of forest products, mining of raw metal, etc. are included in primary section. So you can see here these occupations, yes, like cattle rearing, cattle breeding, fishing, poultry farm, collection of forest products, mining of raw metals, these all are included in primary sector section. Remember this thing. Next is the secondary sector. What does it consider? It considered of small scale industries and large scale industries. Now the primary sector we will get what? Raw material. Okay, now this raw material will be transferred to the secondary sector, means the agro products or any other products will go to the industry factory and they will have the things to be prepared by which the human beings will consume. Now small and large scale industries, factories, construction, electricity, gas, water supply are included in this section. So very simple example we can say of cotton. Okay, the cotton plants which we get in raw form from primary sector, yes, the farmers will sell the cotton plants to the retailer, wholesalers, and these people will sell it to the industries and large scale industries, and then from that the clothes, cotton clothes are made, means that is the secondary sector, means where the products are made from the raw material which we get from the primary sector. This section is also acknowledged as industry, which includes production from small pins to gigantic machines. Like small pins to gigantic machine, means from a very small things to the large thing. Yes, from a very small pin also is made from the iron, and big machines are also made from it. So this section we can say that it includes the production from a very small to large things. If we come to next, structure of Indian economy, third is the service sector. Now different types of service are included in this sector, and service sector includes trade and commerce, transport, communication, education and health, banking and insurance, tourism and entertainment. You can see on the screen all the different types of people are working here. Yes, if you are going in the bank, it means that is the service sector. Okay, if you are also going to some other transport and communications or education and health, this all comes under the service sector. Service like trade, communication, airways, waterways, education, health, banking and insurance, tourism and entertainment are included in this sector. Students, remember the different types of occupation are categorized in which sector. It's very important, then only you will be able to identify if the question is asked in the twisted form. Now normally the primary sector dominates in the developing country. Why it is said? Because in developing country mostly the income is depend on the agriculture sector, means the agriculture or agrarian countries which come in the developing countries, their primary sector dominates, mostly the farming, the agriculture, vegetation, plantation, all this comes in this. Primary sector contributes the most in employment generation and national income. However, as there is rise in economic development, significance of primary sector decreases in comparison to secondary and service sector, and importance of industrial sector and service sector increase. Okay, so why this is said that if there is an economic development in secondary and service sector, then why the significance of primary sector will decrease? Yes, because if there is a progress in the science and with the science and technology, if there is a progress in economic development of any country, then the people will be more dependent on the secondary and service sector. But yes, it is true that primary sector is needed at any stage. Now coming to the next, factors of production. This is the next topic of the chapter. Here we can say that the land, capital, labor and entrepreneurship are the factors of production. Now production is done with the help of natural resources and labor. Okay, from natural resources and the labor means we human beings, yes, those all are working, and through the natural resources we will do production of any product. So production is done with the help of natural resource and labor, and different types of tools are used for production. The tools like bullock cart, tractor, sickle, labor land, etc. are associated with the production of food grains. So very simple, one example is given of food grain. Now if a person is growing something, what we will need? We will need a bullock cart to till the land, or a tractor. We will need the sickle also, again for harvesting, then labor also, and land also. See, all these things together are needed to grow the food grains. There are different types of factors of production, but to make study easy, these factors are divided into 4 parts. So very simple, there are different types of factors of production, but for your study purpose it has been divided into a very easy way. It is divided into 4 parts. You have to remember these 4 parts. First is land, second capital, third labor, and fourth entrepreneurship. Come to the first, land. In normal sense, land is the upper layer of surface of the earth. Okay, if we define the land in the normal sense, what we say? The upper layer of the earth, we say the land. But in terms of economics, land means different types of natural resources, which include forest, rivers, mountains, minerals, presence in the interior of earth, metals, etc. present on the earth surface. So in the normal sense, we say that land is the upper surface of the earth. But if you consider in the production way, okay, then we get from forest also we get many things, from river also mountains, minerals present which are in the beneath the earth, and then many metals are also there which are present on the earth surface. Yes, so land is a natural tool for production. We can say land is a natural tool for production because we get many things from the land and that natural resources. Second is the capital. Now man-made instruments helpful in production process such as instruments, tools, houses, etc. are included in capital, property, assets and investment, etc. So these are the things which are made by men. That's why it is said man-made instruments. Yes, the things which are made by the man and which are helpful in the productions of instruments, tools, houses, etc. are included in capital, property, assets and investments. Next is the labor. Labor means mental or physical work done with the aim to obtain monetary gain. Mental and physical is said means a person who is sitting in the office and working with the files and computers and all these things, he needs only his mental capacity to work out there. But a person who is working outside, you can see in the second screen, yes, he needs the physical strength to carry the burden and weight. Okay. So labor, both are labor. The first one is the mental work labor and the second is the physical work labor. And both are doing the work for what? What is their aim? To obtain the monetary gain. Means they will get the money in return. Okay, if a person is doing job, he will get salary, and if a person is working in the construction site, he will get the wages. Labor is a living factor of production. Why labor is said to be the living factor of production? Labor means human being itself. Okay, human beings means a live person. Either he is working in the office or he is working outside anywhere. Okay, as a physical work or a mental work. But who is doing this work? Person is doing. A human being, live human being is doing this work. That's why labor is considered to be the living factor of production. Work of a farm labor, worker, teacher, doctors, artisans, etc. is called labor. Next is entrepreneurship. The person who efficiently combines the three factors of production, land, capital and labor is called entrepreneurship. Okay, so who is the entrepreneurship? Is a person itself. Okay, he can be he or she, anyone. Now this person will do what? He will combine this all three things, and from these three things he will get very efficiently he will combine all these three factors and he will get the production in any other way. The process of coordinating the three factor of the production process is called entrepreneurship. Means from the land, if it's example agriculture land, he will need the labors also, means he will need the capital also. Okay, so all these three things are very efficiently combined by this entrepreneur and he will give us the efficient result. Now if we come to our next topic, distribution of factors of production. Okay, so once again the same thing, human wants are unlimited while resources to fulfill them are limited. Very true, our desires, our dreams and our wants will never end, and the resources which are needed to fulfill our wants are in the limited way. No nation of the world has resources in unlimited quantity. There will be always scarcity of factors of production. So if we take any country, okay, any nation, the nation will not have all the resources. Okay, some or other resources will be either less or in no form. So there will be always scarcity of factors of production. Now the factors of production which we have studied previously, all those four, land, capital, labor and entrepreneurship, distribution of these factors of production is being said. As a result, every country faces problems related to allocation of resources. Many questions arise such as why, when and how much quantity of limited resources can be used. So obviously the question mark will be there, and the person who is managing, okay, the government who is managing to distribute the resources in the one common form, then what will happen? Many questions will arise that why, when, how much quantity of limited resources can be used. Very first, unlimited ones. Okay, so here again the distribution of factors of production is, we can say there are 4 points in that. Very first is our unlimited wants. Human wants are uncountable and unlimited, so many wants originate from one want. Very simple it is said. If we are desiring, suppose if you want to buy a two-wheeler, okay, and you have purchased also. Now after purchasing it, you have to maintain it. Okay, for maintenance also you have to spend the money. Again, if you want to modify your two-wheeler and you want to add something in that, again it will need the money. So in short, one want will originate many other wants. Okay, so very simple. Suppose if you are buying a beautiful dress, okay, now with that dress you will need all other matching things also to make yourself look more beautiful and attractive. So your one want of having the beautiful dress, then other wants will also get originate from it. Very simple. Many requirements are to be fulfilled again and again, while many wants arise because of development of science and technology. Means many many requirements are to be fulfilled again and again. Suppose every day 3 times we need the meal to eat, okay, and some things are arise, some wants, some demands are arise because of the science and technology. How? That suppose in the market, if there is a new mobile has been launched, okay, with the very good features and cameras and all those things, then the youngster will get attracted toward that and will try to buy that things unnecessary if they don't need also, just because of the attraction. So many requirements are to be fulfilled again and again, while many wants arise because they are of science and technology. Thus, because of many reasons, wants become unlimited. So in order to fulfill the wants, one has to make selection among wants. So to fulfill our wants, our needs, okay, what we have to do? We have to make the selection. We have to choose any one thing which fit our budget also. So very first, the primary needs are, a person will need about his own house, okay, primary needs, food, house and clothing. These are the primary needs. The requirements of recreations. Second picture you can see that these wants are requirement of recreation, means just for entertainment, relaxation, fun or like that way, okay, or to show some person will have the just a desire to live a luxurious life and buy the luxurious and the expensive things and all those. So thus because of many reasons, wants become unlimited. So in order to fulfill the want, what one has to do? One has to make the selection. Suppose a person is having the money, okay, he is having the 25 lakhs. Now he has to make the selection that whether he will buy first his own house or whether he will buy first a luxurious car. So which is the first requirement here? The primary need is that the person will intellectually think that he should buy the house first to live a good and secure life. Yes, then he can think about the luxurious car and all those things which make him feel good. Coming to the next, important order in terms of necessities. Again, as the resource to satisfy wants are limited, the individual has to decide which want is more important. He has to satisfy his requirement in order of priority. Very true, a housewife or a person, okay, will make a list. He will put the things which are needed first in the prior, and then he will go for the other things. So person has to do what? He has to first decide that what thing is important. Yes, from these 4 things, very first food, house and clothing are important. So he will make in order that which thing should be given prior. Okay. Again, whichever requirement is more important, that has to be satisfied early and later on the other. So very true that we need 3 times meal in a day. So first requirement is to have a nutritious and healthy food. Okay, then only our body will remain healthy and we will be able to do more work. So very first the person will give the priority to the nutritious and healthy food for the family and himself, and then he will think about the luxurious cars or other products. Next, if we go, third point, limited resources. Factors of production mainly include natural wealth and man-made wealth. All these tools are limited, so they have to be utilized judiciously. Very true, resources are limited, okay, which we are getting from the nature. We are totally dependent on the nature, we have no option, and the things which we are getting from nature are limited, so we have to utilize them in judiciously and economically way. Distribution of tool has to be done keeping selected want in the center. Means what? That things which you need first should be in your center, means should be in your important list of the items which you need first, means very first primary needs. If these three needs are satisfied, food, clothing and shelter, okay, after that a person can think about the next three things. Next, if we come fourth point, alternative use of the resource. Resources to satisfy demands are limited. Not only this, they have alternative usage also. When the tool of production may be utilized in more than one way, it means that the tool has multiple usage. So it may be said that the usage is alternative. For example, if wheat is sown in the land, bajra, maize, groundnut or any other yield cannot be cultivated. So one simple example is given, alternative use of the resources, that if the wheat is sown in a land of bajra, maize, groundnut or any other yield cannot be cultivated. Suppose if only wheat is there, other things will not be cultivated at the same time or afterward also. Okay, so other usage of land has to be stopped. In the above mentioned condition, distribution of factor of production is done in such a way that they satisfy to maximum possible demand. So that's why the factor of production should be distributed in such a way that maximum demands of the people are satisfied through it. Okay students, so this is the next topic, method of allotting or allocation of resources. This topic we will discuss in our next session. You will study in detail about the market system and socialist system prevailing in our economy. So hope that you have understood the today's topic, economic and non-economic activity, factors of production and distribution of factor of production. Go through our YouTube channel. If you find any difficulty, you can also concern. Okay. So for today we will end our topic here, and we will meet in our next session. Thank you and have a nice day.